pressed his palm against the cold glass window and stared at the dead planet below, Earth, or what was left of it. The brown and gray sphere turned slowly beneath the research station, its oceans long dried, its cities crumbled to dust. He had studied this world his entire life, yet it never stopped breaking his heart. "Still at it?" His voice came from behind him. The older woman walked over with 2 cups of hot tea, her gray hair tied back in a practical bun. She had been studying Earth for 40 years, longer than had been alive. "I can't stop thinking about them," said, accepting the tea. "Our ancestors, they built ships that could cross the galaxy. They gave other species the stars, and then they just disappeared." Sighed. The silence took everything. 4,000 years ago, something killed this world. We're lucky any humans survived at all. Nodded, but something bothered him. It always had. He turned back to his workstation where data streams scrolled across multiple screens. Every day, the same signal broadcasted from somewhere on Earth's surface. It had been transmitting for, never stopping, never changing. Except it did change. Had discovered that 3 months ago, and he still couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Look at this," he said, pulling up his analysis. "I've been comparing the signal from different time periods. Everyone thinks it's just a repeating message, right? A memorial or maybe a distress call that no one ever answered. That's what every expert has concluded for the past 4,000 years, said, moving closer to his screens. But they're wrong. His fingers flew over the controls, overlaying signal patterns from different centuries. See these micro-variations. They're not random. They're not degradation from age. The signal is changing deliberately. Every 1,000 years, there's a shift in the frequency modulation. Leaned in, her eyes widening. By the stars, you're right. How did no one see this before? Because you have to look at it across massive time scales. I only found it because I was trying to date some artifacts and needed to correlate them with the signal timestamps. Pulled up another screen. But that's not the interesting part. Watch this. He ran a predictive algorithm, showing how the signal would change over time. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. The variations were getting smaller, converging toward a specific point. It's counting down, whispered. This isn't a memorial, it's a timer. Exactly, and according to my calculations, it reaches 0 in 3 months. The room fell silent except for the hum of computers. Sat down heavily in a chair, her tea forgotten. What happens when it reaches 0? I don't know, but someone on Earth set this up 4,000 years ago. They meant for something to happen when the countdown finished. Stood and paced the small lab. We need to tell the Galactic Council. This could be important. I already tried, said quietly. They rejected my report, said it was speculation. The Council doesn't want to hear about Earth anymore. As far as they're concerned, humanity's legacy is just the FTL drive we gave them. The rest is ancient history. Then we go to Captain. The eternal memory is equipped for surface missions, if we can find the signal's source. The surface is quarantined, reminded her. No one's allowed down there. The radiation, the toxic atmosphere, the unstable geology, it's a death sentence. Looked at him with the same fierce determination he'd seen when she lectured stubborn students. Our ancestors didn't build something to last 4,000 years just to have it ignored. If that signal reaches 0 and we did nothing, could you live with yourself? Knew she was right. He'd known it from the moment he discovered the countdown. I'll need to make some calls. There's a pilot named. She has a reputation for getting people to places they're not supposed to go. Do it. I'll talk to. He's human descended like us. He'll understand what this means. Over the next 2 weeks, quietly prepared for the expedition. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Twice, he noticed the same security official observing him in the station corridors. Once, he found someone had accessed his research files without authorization. When he mentioned it too, she frowned. The Council has spies everywhere. If they think we're serious about going to Earth, they might try to stop us. Why would they care? Earth is dead. What are they afraid of? Maybe they know more than they're telling us. The thought chilled. What if the Galactic Council knew what the signal meant? What if they'd known all along? 3 days before their planned departure, received a message marked urgent. It was from his brother. They hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since their argument about subsession with Earth. Little brother, the message began, stern face filling the screen. I know what you're planning, don't do it. The Council has issued new protocols regarding Earth. Anyone attempting to breach the quarantine will be arrested, or worse. This isn't worth your life. Let the past stay buried. Deleted the message. Had always been by the book, always following orders. He'd risen high in the galactic peacekeeping fleet by never questioning authority, but couldn't be like that. Not when humanity's greatest mystery was 3 months from being solved. The night before departure, stood at his window one last time, looking down at Earth. Somewhere on that dead world, something was waiting. Something that had survived 4,000 years of silence, patiently counting down to this moment. "What are you?" he whispered to the planet. "What did our ancestors leave behind?" Captain appeared beside him, the older man's weathered face reflected in the glass. "The ship is ready. Arrived an hour ago. She's as crazy as advertised, but I believe she can get us down there. And if the council tries to stop us, then we run. We're all human descended. This is our history. We have more right to be there than any council bureaucrat." Placed a hand on shoulder. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we find out what our ancestors wanted us to know." Didn't sleep that night. He lay in his quarters, listening to the station's ambient noise, thinking about the billions of humans who had once called Earth home. They had reached for the stars and succeeded. They had shared their greatest invention with alien species who had become friends. And then they had vanished, leaving behind only ruins and a signal that had whispered across the galaxy for 4,000 years. In 3 months, that whisper would finally speak its last word. Intended to be there to hear it. The ship shook violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Hands danced across the controls, her short black hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. "Hold on, this is going to get worse before it gets better." Gripped his seat, watching with wide eyes. The clouds outside glowed an angry orange from the friction heat. Alarms blared throughout the small vessel but seemed completely unfazed. She'd told them she'd made this run 17 times before. Hoped she wasn't exaggerating. "Radiation levels rising," reported from the science station, "but still within tolerable range. The old data was wrong. It's not as bad as they told us." "Of course it's not," said with a wild grin. "The council lies about everything down here. They don't want people snooping around. Makes you wonder what they're hiding, doesn't it?" Captain stood behind his command chair, steady despite the turbulence. "How long until we reach the signal source?" 20 minutes if we don't get shot down first," replied cheerfully. As if summoned by her words, a new alarm screamed to life. His expression darkened as he read the display. "We've got company. 3 fleet interceptors coming in fast." "Already, we just entered the atmosphere," said. "They were waiting for us," realized. "The council knew we'd try this." The comm system crackled, and a familiar voice filled the cabin. "Attention, unidentified vessel. This is Commander of the Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet. You are in violation of quarantine protocols. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Heart sank. His own brother was leading the pursuit. "Want me to lose them?" asked, already adjusting their course. "Wait," activated the comm. "It's me. We're not here to cause trouble. We just need to reach the signal source. 3 months from now, something is going to happen. We need to know what it is." There was a long pause. When spoke again, his voice was tight with anger. "You're risking your life for a ghost story. That signal is nothing, just an echo from the past. Turn around now and I'll let you go with a warning." "You're lying," said softly. "You know something, the council knows something. What are you all so afraid of?" "Last warning, little brother. Turn back or I will fire." Looked at the question clear in his eyes, nodded, "Keep going." The pilot whooped with joy and sent the ship into a steep dive. Finally, I was getting bored. The pursuing ships opened fire, bright energy bolts streaking past their vessel. Flew like someone possessed, weaving through the toxic clouds, using the planet's magnetic interference to scramble their sensors. "They can't track us down here. The radiation plays hell with their targeting systems." "It's playing hell with ours too," shouted as sparks flew from her console. They broke through the clouds and got his first real look at Earth's surface. It was worse than the pictures. Endless wastes of cracked earth, rusted skeletons of ancient cities, dried ocean basins filled with toxic dust. Nothing lived here. Nothing could. "Signal source is 2 kilometers ahead," reported. "But I'm reading something strange. There's a massive structure and it's powered. That's impossible. Nothing should still have power after 4,000 years." Brought them in low, skimming over the wasteland. And then they saw it. Rising from the dead earth like a monument to a forgotten age, a massive structure gleamed in the dim sunlight. It was pristine, unmarked by time or weather. Smooth metallic walls covered in intricate patterns stretched for kilometers in every direction. It looked like it had been built yesterday. "What is that?" whispered. "That's where our ancestors went," said, understanding flooding through him. "They didn't die, they built this." Set the ship down near a massive entrance. The moment they landed, the structure responded. Lights activated along the walls, and the entrance doors slowly opened, revealing a vast interior bathed in soft blue light. They suited up and exited the ship, their boots crunching on the dead ground. The air inside the structure was clean, breathable, environmental systems that had run for 4,000 years without maintenance. "This is human technology," said, running her scanner over the walls. "But far more advanced than anything they had before the fall. This must have been their greatest project." They walked deeper into the structure, following the signal. It grew stronger with every step, pulling them forward like a beacon. The corridors were wide and tall, built for thousands of people to move through easily. And then they found the chamber. It stretched beyond sight, a cathedral of sleep. Thousands upon thousands of pods lined the walls, stacked in precise rows that reached into the darkness above and below. Each pod glowed with a soft amber light, and inside. People breathed. There are people inside them. They rushed to the nearest pod. Through the transparent surface, a young woman slept peacefully, her features serene. Her vitals displayed on the pod screen, alive, stable, waiting. "They're all alive," said, her voice shaking. She moved to another pod, then another. "These readouts show thousands of them are still in here, still sleeping, for 4,000 years. Found a control terminal and activated it. Holographic displays sprang to life, showing the entire facility. Millions of pods. Most were empty, their occupants long gone. But hundreds of thousands remained active, their occupants preserved in perfect stasis." "This wasn't a catastrophe," said, the truth crashing over him like a wave. "The fall wasn't an accident. They planned this. They put themselves to sleep on purpose." "But why?" asked. "Why would an entire civilization choose to sleep?" Access the terminal, searching for answers. Files upon files of data, all sealed with complex encryption. But one file was unlocked, meant to be found. He opened it, and a hologram appeared. A woman in a military uniform stood before them, her expression serious but not unkind. She looked like she could be Sister, another human from the old world. "If you're seeing this," the recording began, "then you found us, and you've decoded the signal. That means the galaxy has finally reached the technological level we hoped for, the level you'll need for what's coming." "What's coming?" asked the recording, even though he knew it couldn't answer. But the woman continued as if she'd heard him. 4,000 years ago, we discovered the truth about the universe. Every 100,000 years, something comes, something that destroys advanced civilizations. We called it the silence because that's what it left behind. Nothing. No survivors, no remnants, just empty worlds." Felt his blood run cold. "We calculated its arrival. We had 500 years before it would reach our corner of the galaxy. Not enough time to stop it. Not enough time to warn the species who would come after us. So we made a choice." The woman's image walked closer, as if she could see them across 4. "We seeded the galaxy with our knowledge, our technology, our genes. We gave other species the tools they'd need to advance quickly. Then we came here to this vault. We put ourselves to sleep and we set a signal, a test." "A test," whispered. "When you could decode our changing signal, that would mean the galaxy had advanced far enough, that you were ready. And that would mean it was time for us to wake up, because the silence is coming again. And this time, we'll all face it together." The recording ended, leaving them in stunned silence. "By the stars," said, "they've been waiting. All this time they've been waiting to help us." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed along the walls. "What's happening?" shouted, running back from where she'd been exploring. Checked the terminal, his eyes widening in horror. "The fleet, not trying to arrest us. He's been ordered to destroy this place. They're launching missiles at the structure." "They know what's here," said. "The Council knows humans are sleeping here, and they're trying to make sure they never wake up." The countdown on display showed 2 minutes until impact. And somewhere in the depths of the vault, the first of the ancient sleepers began to wake. The first pod opened with a hiss of escaping gas. The woman inside gasped, her eyes flying open. For a moment she just lay there, breathing hard, her mind struggling to process where she was and when she was. "Easy," said, helping her sit up. "You're safe. You've been asleep for a very long time." The woman's eyes focused on, then moved to, and "How long?" Her voice was rough from disuse. 4,000 years, said gently. The woman closed her eyes, taking a shuddering breath. "Then we're out of time. The silence is almost here." "What's your name?" asked. "Strategic Commander, Earth Defense Force." She tried to stand, stumbled, and caught her. "The facility, it responded to a threat. That's why it woke me first. What's happening?" "The Galactic Council is trying to destroy this place," explained quickly. "We have less than a minute before their missiles hit." His expression hardened. She pulled away from and stumbled to the terminal, her fingers moving across controls that were 4,000 years old but still familiar to her. "The vault has defenses, ancient ones. I'm activating them now." The structure hummed with sudden power. Outside, defensive systems came online, weapons that had slept as long as the people inside. Energy shields flickered into existence around the facility, and point-defense cannons emerged from hidden ports. The missiles struck moments later. The explosions lit up the sky, but the shields held. Every missile was intercepted, reduced to harmless debris. On the ship commanded, alarm screamed. His weapons officer looked up in shock. "Commander, the target has active defenses. Our missiles are destroyed." Stared at the readings in disbelief. "That's impossible. Nothing on Earth works anymore." "Should we fire again?" Hesitated, his mind racing. His brother was down there, and apparently so was something that could defend itself against modern weapons. "Pull back. I need to contact the Council." Inside the vault, watched the fleet retreat on her displays. "They'll be back with more ships, bigger weapons." She turned to the others. "How many species are in the Galactic Council now?" 43 answered. "Humanity's descendants are scattered among them. Maybe 10 million of us total, spread across the galaxy." 10 million, repeated softly. "There were 10 billion of us when we went asleep." She was quiet for a moment. "And the galaxy, is it unified? Do the species work together?" "Mostly. There are disputes but no major wars. It's been relatively peaceful for centuries." "Good, they'll need that unity." Activated another terminal. "I need to wake the others, all of them. We're going to need every person in this vault." "Wait," said, "you need to tell us everything first. What is the silence? Where does it come from?" Hold up a star chart, overlaying it with data. "We don't know where it comes from. Our best scientists studied it for 200 years and never found its source. What we know is this: every 100,000 years it appears at the edge of the galaxy. It's not alive, not in any way we understand. It's a weapon system, ancient beyond measure. It sweeps through the galaxy, targeting any civilization that's reached a certain level of advancement." "How do you know it's coming now?" asked. "Because we calculated its pattern. It's not random. It moves in cycles like clockwork, and our calculations said it would return right about now." She zoomed out the star chart. "Has anyone noticed unusual readings from the galactic rim? Dead zones in sensor data, stars going dark." The others exchanged glances. "There have been reports," admitted, "but the Council said it was natural phenomena, some kind of dust cloud." "They're lying, or they don't want to believe the truth," brought up another display. "We need to contact your Council. They need to know what's coming." "They won't listen," said. "They just tried to kill us all. I think they know about the silence and they don't want humanity to wake up." "Why not?" asked. "They need help." Spoke carefully. "Commander, you have to understand. 4,000 years is a long time. The stories about humanity, they've changed. Some species remember us as saviors who gave them faster-than-light travel. Others remember us as dangerous, too aggressive, too willing to take risks. Some species are afraid of what humanity might do if you all wake up." Laughed bitterly. "Afraid? We put ourselves to sleep so they could survive. We gave up everything to prepare for this moment, and they're afraid." "Fear doesn't have to be rational," said. A new alarm sounded. A young who had joined them in the vault looked up from her scanner. "I'm detecting massive energy buildups across the facility. The other pods are beginning emergency wake cycles." "The vault knows we're under threat," said. "It's waking everyone on its own. We have maybe 6 hours before thousands of confused people start emerging from sleep." "We need supplies," said. "Food, water, medical equipment. This facility might have life support, but it wasn't meant to sustain this many people awake." "I'll contact my network," said, already pulling out her communication device. "I know scavengers and traders all over this sector. If anyone can smuggle supplies to Earth, they can." While made her calls, pulled and aside. "I need you to understand something. The people in these pods, they volunteered for this mission. Every single one of them. We're soldiers, scientists, engineers, diplomats. We trained for years, knowing we'd wake to a galaxy that had forgotten us, knowing we might wake to a galaxy that hated us." "Then why did you do it?" asked. "Because someone had to. The silence doesn't negotiate. It doesn't have mercy. It just destroys. And we calculated that if we could help the galaxy advance fast enough, give them 4,000 years to build on our technology, then maybe, just maybe, there'd be a chance." "A chance at what?" asked. "Survival for all of us." Pulled up an image. It showed a massive structure hanging in space, unlike anything had ever seen. "This is what we think the silence looks like. We never got close enough to confirm, but our drones captured this image 500 years before we went asleep." The structure was enormous, easily the size of a moon. It was made of some black material that seemed to absorb all light. Tendrils extended from its surface, each one bristling with weapons. "It creates more of itself," explained. "Uses resources from dead planets to build copies. By the time it reaches the galactic core, there could be thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands." Felt sick. "How do you fight something like that?" "That's what we've been trying to figure out for 4,000 years. Well, 4,000 years of sleep, but we were working on it before." Managed a tired smile. The good news is we had ideas, lots of ideas, some of them might even work. A communication signal reached the facility, answered it, and Counselor appeared on the screen. The alien's scaled face was difficult to read, but his tone was cold. Attention humans in the surface facility. You have awakened an ancient threat. Stand down and surrender, or we will be forced to use greater measures. Threat stepped in front of the camera. We're trying to save you, you fool. The real threat is at the galaxy's edge, and it's coming for all of us. His eyes narrowed. We know what you are. We've read the old files, the ones your kind tried to hide. We know about your wars, your weapons, your nuclear arsenals. Earth nearly destroyed itself a dozen times before you reached the stars. The galaxy doesn't need that kind of violence. The galaxy needs us, said firmly, because in about 6 months the silence will reach the outer colonies, and in 2 years it will be at your, and when it comes, you'll wish you had humans who know how to fight. You're trying to scare us. I'm trying to save you. Pulled up the data from the star chart. Look at your own sensors, really look. Those dark zones at the rim, that's the silence. It's already begun. Stared at the data. For the first time, doubt crossed his features. We can work together, said. That's what we've always wanted, but you need to stop trying to kill us and start preparing, because ready or not, the war is coming. The transmission ended, had cut the connection. He didn't believe you, said. Some of them will, replied, and that's all we need, a few believers who'll spread the word. Behind them, more pods began opening throughout the vast chamber. One by one, humanity's defenders were waking to face a galaxy that had grown without them. And somewhere beyond the stars, the silence drew closer. 3 days passed, and the vault transformed from a tomb into a fortress. Thousands of humans had awakened, their initial confusion giving way to grim determination as they learned the truth. 4,000 years had passed. The silence was coming, and the galaxy wasn't ready. Watch from the command center as coordinated with her officers. They worked with an efficiency that seemed impossible for people who'd just woken from sleep, but they'd trained for exactly this scenario. They'd known they might wake to hostility. Defense grid is at full power, reported a combat specialist who'd awakened on the second day. She was younger then, but her eyes held the same hard determination. We have enough firepower to hold off a standard fleet assault for maybe a week. We won't have a week, said. The AI had activated when the vault systems detected the incoming threat. She appeared as a hologram, a young woman with a calm expression, but could see the vast computational power behind her simple avatar. The Council is assembling the largest fleet in recent history, 17 battle groups, over 400 ships. All of that to destroy one facility, said in disbelief. Not to destroy, corrected, to erase. They want to make sure no trace of us remains, no evidence that humanity chose to sleep. If they succeed, the galaxy will never know the truth about the silence. Studied the star charts. The dark zones at the galactic rim are expanding. 3 more colonies have gone silent. Still, the Council refuses to acknowledge it. Fear, said. They're more afraid of us than of the silence because we're right here and we're real. The silence is still abstract to them, distant. A communication request came through, answered, and his brother's face appeared. Said, he looked tired, older somehow. I'm coming to you with classified information. Don't shoot me down. If you're trying to trick us. I'm not, I'm defecting, glanced off screen nervously. I accessed the restricted archives. The Council knows about the silence. They've known for decades. They found old human research files, warnings about the cycle, and they've been hiding it. Leaned into view. Why? Because admitting the truth would mean admitting they need humanity, and there are factions in the Council who would rather face extinction than accept help from humans. His expression hardened. I won't be part of that. My brother is down there. My ancestors are down there. I'm coming home. Welcome home, said simply. Ship landed an hour later. He brought more than information. He brought data on the Council fleet's attack plans, their formations, their weapons. More importantly, he brought a message. You're not alone, he told, and the others. Half the fleet is human descended. Many of them want to help you but can't openly defy orders. If you can survive the first assault, if you can prove you're not the enemy, they'll turn. How do we prove that? Asked. By showing them what you're really fighting for, said. Broadcast everything, every piece of data about the silence, every recording from ancient Earth. Let the galaxy see the truth. His hologram flickered. I can do that, but it will expose our communication systems. The Council will be able to target them. Do it anyway, decided. Send everything to every public channel in the galaxy. Let them see why we slept. Let them see what's coming. The broadcast went out. Across thousands of worlds, people watched as the truth of Earth's sacrifice unfolded. They saw the research data, the calculations, the decision to sleep so that others might have a chance. They saw the images of the silence, captured by drones that had sacrificed themselves to get close enough for one picture. The reaction was immediate and divided. Some species called for peace, for dialogue with the awakened humans. Others demanded the vault's destruction. The galaxy teetered on the edge of chaos. And then the Council fleet arrived. Watch from the vault as 400 ships took position in orbit around Earth. It was the largest military force assembled in over 1,000 years. Counselor's voice boomed across all frequencies. Humans of the Genesis Vault, you have 24 hours to surrender. Lay down your weapons and accept Council custody, or we will be forced to eliminate you. Didn't bother responding. Instead, she turned to her officers. Deploy all defense drones, activate the orbital platforms. Everyone else battle stations. Wait, said, you have orbital platforms. Of course, said with a slight smile. You didn't think we'd just sleep in a box without protecting it, did you? All around Earth's orbit, hidden platforms awakened. They'd been disguised as debris, as dead satellites, as chunks of rock. Now they revealed themselves, weapons charging. The Council fleet scrambled to respond, but they'd expected an easy target. Instead, they faced a defensive network designed by humanity's best military minds. The battle began. It was brutal and fast. The Council ships were modern and powerful, but they fought with standard tactics, predictable patterns. The humans fought like cornered animals, vicious, creative, and utterly unwilling to surrender. Coordinated the defense from the vault, her commands precise and devastating. Drones swarmed around Council ships, targeting their sensors and communications. The orbital platforms fired in coordinated volleys, not trying to destroy ships but to disable them, to force them out of formation. They're learning, observed. Their tactics are adapting, we're losing our advantages. Then we changed the game, said. She activated a new system, something the Council had no data on. Active camouflage on all platforms. Make them think we have twice as many as we actually do. The platforms vanished from sensors, their images replaced with phantom copies. The Council fleet fired at ghosts while the real platforms repositioned. On Zol's flagship, the captain stared at the chaos and confusion. This is madness. We can't target them. How are they doing this? His second officer, a woman with human ancestry, spoke quietly. Because they're not trying to win. They're trying to survive. There's a difference. What do you mean? Look at their targeting. They could destroy our ships, but they're only disabling them. They're trying to minimize casualties. She looked at her captain. They're trying to prove they're not monsters. The captain watched as another volley from the vault disabled 3 more ships without killing anyone. By the stars, you're right. He made a decision that would change everything. All ships cease fire. This is Captain. I'm pulling my battle group out of this engagement. Captain, the Council will court-martial you. His communications officer protested. Let them. I won't kill humans who are trying to save us. He broadcast on all frequencies. Any ship with human-descended crew, I urge you to stand down. We're on the wrong side of this fight. It started as a trickle, then became a flood. Ships began withdrawing from the battle, their human-descended crews refusing to fire on the vault. Within an hour, half the Council fleet had pulled back, leaving the rest exposed and outnumbered. Counselor watched his perfect assault crumble. In rage and desperation, he gave an order he'd been holding in reserve. Activate the planet killer. If we can't control Earth, we'll destroy it completely. A massive ship moved forward, its weapons charging with enough power to crack a world in half. Saw it coming, can we stop that? Not with our current defenses. That weapon is too powerful. Then we used the last resort. Activated a control she'd hoped never to touch. Deep beneath the vault, something ancient stirred. A ship that had been buried for 4,000 years began to rise. It was small compared to the planet killer, barely the size of a cruiser. But when it emerged from Earth's surface, every sensor in orbit screamed warnings. What is that energy signature? Demanded. His science officer's voice shook. It's a quantum disruptor, the kind of weapon that's been banned for 3,000 years, if that fires. The human ship's weapons locked on the planet killer, and suddenly, understood. The humans weren't defending themselves. They were defending the galaxy's ability to face the silence, even if it meant using weapons that terrified even them. Stand down, whispered. Then louder, all ships cease fire, withdraw immediately. The planet killer's weapons powered down. The human ship held its position, watching, waiting. His voice broadcast across all channels. We don't want to fight you. We never did. But we will protect this vault and everyone in it because the galaxy needs us. You'll see that soon enough. In the silence that followed, looked up from her station, her face pale. I've just received data from our deep space probes, the Silence. It's not just at the rim anymore, it's accelerating. It'll reach the outer colonies in 3 months, not 6. The time for debate was over. Ready or not, the war had begun. 2 months had passed since the siege ended. The Genesis Vault was no longer a secret or a threat. It had become the center of the galaxy's desperate preparations. Walked through corridors filled with both humans and aliens working side by side. Engineers from 6 different species collaborated with awakened human scientists. Soldiers trained together. Languages mixed and merged. It reminded him of the old stories about Earth's golden age before the sleep. In the main command center, Commander Sora stood before a massive display of the galaxy. She'd been the last to wake, the highest-ranking military officer from ancient Earth. Tall and, with silver hair despite her relatively young appearance, she commanded respect from everyone around her. The Silence has taken 14 colonies, she said, her voice cutting through the chatter. 17 million people, all gone. It's moving faster than our ancestors predicted. Studied the patterns on the display. She'd been working with awakened scientists for weeks now. It's adapting, using better routes through space. It's learning from its previous cycle. Then we need to learn faster, Sora said. She pulled up another display showing the assembled fleet. Ships from every council species, united for the first time in centuries. Human advisors served on every vessel, teaching tactics that had been forgotten for. Entered the command center, closed behind. We've had a breakthrough, show them. The young activated a holographic model. We've been studying the data from ancient Earth's drones. The Silence isn't one entity, it's a network. Millions of individual units coordinated by quantum entanglement. If we can disrupt that coordination, we can make them vulnerable, finished, her hologram appearing beside's model. I've been working on a virus, not biological but quantum. It would spread through their network, causing cascade failures. Will it work? Asked. He'd been promoted to admiral in the combined fleet, his experience making him invaluable. Probably not, admitted. The Silence has survived for millions of years. It has defenses we can't imagine, but it might work long enough to give us an opening. Then we need to get close enough to deploy it, Sora said, which means taking a fleet into the heart of the Silence's formation. That's suicide, said an alien admiral. His species had lost 2 colonies to the Silence already. It's necessary, countered. The combat specialist had been training mixed units of humans and aliens. We don't win by playing it safe. We win by taking risks no one else will take. That's very human of you, the admiral said, though without hostility. Good, replied with a fierce grin. You're learning. Raised his hand. Since his defection, he'd become a bridge between the old fleet and the new human forces. I have a tactical question. Even if we disrupt the Silence's coordination, how do we destroy something that big? The main structure is moon-sized. Smiled, we collapse it into a singularity. The room went silent. A black hole, someone whispered. That's insane, impossible, terrifying, nodded. Yes to all 3, but we have the quantum disruptors. If we can create a gravity field strong enough, the Silence's own mass will do the rest. It'll consume itself. And anything else nearby, Sora added. Whatever ship deploys that weapon won't make it out. Another silence fell over the room. Everyone understood what that meant. This wasn't just a battle plan. It was a suicide mission. Spoke up, then we need volunteers, people who understand the cost and choose it anyway. We'll have thousands, said quietly. Humans have been waiting 4,000 years for this fight. They won't back down now. The plan took shape over the following weeks. The combined fleet would engage the Silence at a nebula near the galactic rim, drawing its forces into a concentrated area. A strike team would penetrate the main structure and deploy SciFistories. Once the network was disrupted, a single ship carrying the quantum disruptors would create the singularity. Volunteered for the strike team. So did N. Insisted on piloting them, and someone needs to make sure you don't crash, she said with her usual grin. The night before the mission found himself standing at a viewport looking out at Earth. The old world was changing. Life support systems were being restored. In time, the planet might live again. Thinking about the past, asked, joining him. And the future, if we survive this, what happens next? We rebuild together, humans and aliens, like it should have been from the start, she smiled sadly. That was always the dream, not human domination but human partnership. We just needed everyone else to get strong enough first. 4,000 years is a long time to wait. It was worth it, look at them. She gestured to the command center visible through an open door. Humans and aliens worked side by side, no longer divided by fear or mistrust. That's what we fought for, that's what we slept for. The day of battle came. The combined fleet numbered over 800 ships, the largest force the galaxy had ever assembled. At its head was the Eternal Memory, captained by, with Sora commanding the overall strategy. They jumped into the nebula and found the silence waiting. It was worse than the images. Thousands of the moon-sized structures hung in space, connected by streams of dark energy. Smaller units swarmed around them like insects, each one large enough to destroy a city. "All ships engage," Sora's voice rang out. The battle was chaos. Ships exploded. The Silence's weapons were precise and merciless, but the combined fleet fought with something the ancient weapon system couldn't predict: hope. Strike Team, piloted by, wove through the battle toward the central structure. Fighters pursued them, worked the weapons, her aim surprisingly good for a. "I've been practicing," she said at a surprised look. They reached the structure and found an opening, diving into its dark interior. Inside was a maze of passages, all wrong somehow, not built for any species they knew. "Deploying the virus now," said. Her program spread through the structure like wildfire, invisible but devastating. Outside, the Silence's coordination began to falter. Ships stopped moving in perfect formation. They became confused, firing on each other. "It's working," shouted from her station on the Eternal Memory. "But not fast enough," Sora said, watching the tactical display. "We need to deploy the quantum disruptors now." Ship moved forward. She'd volunteered to carry the weapon, understanding she wouldn't return. "It's been an honor," she said simply. "The honor was ours," Sora replied. Ship reached the optimal position. She activated the disruptors and reality twisted. Space folded in on itself. The Silence's central structure began to collapse, pulled toward the forming singularity. The team raced to escape, but the gravity field was too strong. "We're not going to make it," said, struggling with the controls. "Yes, we are," said. His military transport ship appeared, magnetic grapples shooting out to catch their smaller vessel. "Big Brother's got you." They escaped the collapsing structure by seconds. Behind them, the Silence fell into itself, its dark mass condensing smaller and smaller until it vanished with a flash of light. The remaining Silence units, cut off from their network, became erratic. The fleet destroyed them one by one. It took hours, but finally the battle ended. Humanity's return had cost thousands of lives, but the galaxy survived. 50 years later, stood in the Genesis vault with his granddaughter. The facility was now a museum and a university, teaching new generations about Earth's sacrifice and the war against the Silence. Was there too, older but still sharp. "They're calling it the Great Awakening," she said, "the moment humanity returned and saved the galaxy." "We didn't save it alone," reminded her. "No," she agreed, "but we reminded them how to fight, how to hope. That's worth something." A new signal began broadcasting from Earth. Not a countdown this time, but an invitation, a message that would reach across the stars. "We fell, we rose, we remembered. The light will never go out again." Watch ships arrive from across the galaxy, bringing students eager to learn from humanity's preserved knowledge. The dream was finally real. Not human dominance, but partnership. Not fear, but friendship. "Grandfather," his granddaughter asked, "do you think the Silence will ever come back?" Smiled, "Maybe, in another 100,000 years. But now we know what to look for, and we'll be ready together." Above them, Earth turned slowly, its oceans beginning to reflect the sun's light once more. Life was returning to the old world, and with it, hope for all the worlds yet to come. The signal continued its broadcast, a promise to the cosmos. Humanity had awakened, and they would never sleep again.